What's good, everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of Web Quips. This one is going to be centered around the Knowhere Heist event, mythic event, shall we say. Uh, it involves three legendaries. We've got Doc Ock, Invisible Woman, and Star Lord, as well as Kitty Pryde and Rocket Raccoon. Um, I know here, since the requirements for the event and even the rewards came out, there's been a lot of negativity that I've seen and heard um, from various corners of the internet. Uh, I, for one, am actually pretty positive on it. Um, and the reason for that is a lot of people look at this event as being an end game event, something for people in the late stages of the event, or late stages of the game, rather. I look at it as an event that is catering to long-time players. And what I mean by that is the difference between a long-time player and an in-game player, um, to me, is you can get to the end game in relatively short time nowadays. Um, so you've got a lot of people in the end game, um, whether it be content creators or regular people um, like us, they can get to the end game without building certain characters. Those of us that have been playing since, say, launch of the game, uh, these older characters like Star Lord or Rocket Raccoon, once upon a time, we probably had these characters. I know I did. Um, at Gear Tier 13 and level 70 when that was the cap. Um, Me personally, I took these characters through Dark Dimension 2. They were staples on of the BKT team, for instance, and for me to take these characters from Gear Tier 13 to Gear Tier 15, you know, it, I didn't see where that really hurt me. Um, when you look at the rewards for the event here, the first time rewards, in my opinion, they're decent. Now, the repeating rewards that you will get every month, no, they're not great. But if you look at all the other events in this game, whether it's the Relic Hunt or even the Chaos Theory, like, these rewards aren't great either. Now, I know what you're going to say is that these events don't take near the investment as what this Knowhere Heist is doing. Um, Whereas you need, to get tier 7 on this event, you need characters at 7 stars, gear tier 15. Okay, yeah, to me, that, for as long as I've been playing, I've got the characters at 7 stars. Did I have all these characters at gear tier 15? No. Doc Ock, Invisible Woman, Kitty, yes, I had those three at 15. Doc Ock, Invisible Woman, I used in Dark Dimension 4. I had to take them to Gear Tier 15 for Dark Dimension 4. Kitty Pryde, I chose to take her to Gear Tier 15 because I use her every day inside the Doom Raid. The Star-Lord and Rocket, now, up until this week, they've been sitting on my roster at level 75, I think it was, and both were only Gear Tier 13. So for me, the investment was I took them up to level 80, okay, and I did 2 more tiers of gear on them. Now, in terms of the resources required, yes, it has now made me short on SBCs. Um, the SBCs, that's something I farm daily. As you can see, right now I have 558. When I finish taking Star-Lord and Rocket to gear tier 15 just last night, you know, I was down to roughly 100. I think it was like 120. Um, but in terms of like the tech gear, like as you can see, like these here, the mini uniques, I've got 111 of those. Um, some of the tech gear, yeah, it'll put a strain on you. And I see and hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, don't waste the resources. Save them for when the tech raid team comes out." That's definitely coming. Okay, it might be, it might not be. Um, I know in Doom One, for instance, the hardest part of that raid was the bio section, and so many people I saw and heard saying, don't invest in the symbiotes. There's no reason to, because they're going to put out a new bio raid team. We didn't get a new bio raid team until, months after Doom 2 released. And when Doom 2 came out, well, the symbiotes were able to handle that fairly easy. So, for where I'm at, the tech section of the raid is by far, yes, it's the hardest part. But I'm still able to one-shot those nodes if I play it right and with, as long as I kind of got like a little pattern that I go through. Certain characters I use on certain nodes. And for me, it's not that big a deal. Now, granted, I'm not doing 2.3 difficulty every day, but even if I were, I it would be okay. Um, I mean, the the whole purpose of the raids isn't so that it's something so easy that you can just rush right through it. The harder difficulty raids is meant to be a team effort, especially the boss nodes. Um, and to me, it just to sit on gear, waiting for you know them to maybe release a team next month or the month after or 3 months down the line. I, I look at what helps me now and what might help me in the future, what might not help me. Um, all the gear that I put into these characters for this event, that's gear that I can farm daily if I wanted to. And yeah, I know the farming of the gear is random at best. And, some days you might get 0 pieces. Other days you might get, 8 to 10 pieces. It's all random, but that's how this game is set up. Uh, you know, I, last year, I used to look at this game a lot differently, and just the way I played the game then compared to now is, yeah, I was one of those people that would have said, "Oh no, don't waste the gear, hold on to it." You know, um, eh, honestly, I almost quit the game last year because of I didn't like the ISO requirements when they announced Doom and even Doom 2, the blue ISO requirements there. To me, I hated the whole Isotope 8 thing. Um, I just felt that they were putting another, obstacle in front of you to be able to do stuff that you should be able to do if, you had characters at a certain gear tier or, level. The ISO 8 I used to look at a lot differently than what I do now. For me now, when I think about ISO 8, yeah, it's not the best thing, but it allows us to kind of customize our rosters a little bit. You're still going to have, certain ISOs work best, and certain ones don't really work at all, depending on the character. But, it's just, they keep finding ways to allow us to uh, work on our rosters. And, that is one thing I'm thankful for. Like Star Lord and Rocket, I used to love playing with those characters. Like back in the days of Dark Dimension 2 and whatnot. Yeah, I had a blast playing with that BKT team, going through that. Um, and when Star Lord and Rocket kind of fell down a few tiers, in terms of character usage, it, at first I wasn't really bothered by it because I would look at the new characters and be like, ooh, new and shiny. and but now I look at it and Invisible Woman, for instance, she was the first legendary character I unlocked on her first pass. Um, I've used her in Dark Dimension 4. I'll probably end up using her in Dark Dimension 5 when that time comes. But now, like Star Lord and Rocket, you know, the way this game is going as of late, they're going to get reworked. It might not be, within the next patch or two, but at some point, those two characters will be reworked. And honestly, at this point, same goes for Invisible Woman and Doc Ock. At some point, these characters will be reworked. So, you know, to hold on to gear now, waiting for the possibility of a team to come out to better help in raids, whereas, I can spin the gear now and get, minuscule rewards, some would say, but I don't know. If I have these characters on my roster, I'd rather, find a use for them. And if that use is only once a month in this Knowhere Heist, then I'm all for it, honestly. Like, I'm not going to be mad about, having to spin gear. That's part of playing this game. Um, Myself, I've always been a believer in building my roster wide as opposed to, building it tall. Of course, I've been playing long enough to where at this point, I kind of play it both ways. I build wide, and at the same time, certain teams, certain characters, yeah, I do build them a lot more than, the rest of my roster, but that's the way games like this work. So, I'm not going to be mad about spending the gear. You know, when they announced the requirements of Gear Tier 15, I instantly started, counting the SBCs that I would need because I knew that the SBCs would be the thing that would potentially hold me back. And I mean, yeah, your first time through, you get an Elite 7. That's great. Me, honestly, I have never before in this game, and I've been playing pretty much since launch almost. Um, I've never opened an Elite 7. Uh, you know, I've had Elite 6s before. They have turned into 7s. Um, I had one Elite 6 that turned into a 7 Red Star Kestrel. That was really nice. I had another Elite 6 that turned into Lady Sif on the Asgards. And, you know, even at the time when the Asgardians were like the meta defense for war, I just I hated the fact that I pulled a 7 Red Star on her. And out of spite, I took her into Dark Dimension 3. And was she a great choice for that? Absolutely not. But I did it anyways. Um, so, I mean, I'll get a Elite 7 orb here tonight running through this Knowhere Heist, and I'm sure it won't be a character that I want or need. It'll probably be some low tier character, but that's okay. Because that's one more 7 red star character than what I have right now. As it stands right now on my roster, I think I've only got 3 7 red star characters. One is the Kestrel, or two was from Orb Pools, Kestrel and Lady Sif. The other 7 star character that I have is Symbiote Spider-Man, and back when he came out, I only pulled a 4 red star on him, and I went and used the promo credits to build him up. So uh, he was a character at the time where I went all in on him. Hey, if I can get more red stars on him, give them to me. Um, as it stands now, like, I'll take a character to 5 or 6 red stars, depending on who the character is and how much I like them. Not necessarily so much in how much I use them, but like if it's a character I use daily, yeah, I want 5 red stars on them. If it's a character that I really like, then yeah, I'll go for 6. I have no problem with that. But just in the last year now, the way that I've changed the way that I look at this game, I just I play for what's fun for me. You know, a lot of people still play just for the end game, and that's great. But for me, I just let me have fun. And if I have to find the fun, that's what I'm gonna do. I at some point, this game won't exist anymore, and it's gonna be all about the memories that you have of it. And right now, a lot of sentiment on this game is real negative, and yeah, there's bugs and crashes and everything else, and that sucks. That it really does. But at the same time, I have fun logging in every day. Something like this, the Knowhere Heist. I mean, I don't pay attention to the story. Uh, I just I like the gameplay. I like building a team and making that team work. And for me, uh, putting a little bit of extra gear onto Star Lord and Rocket, 2 characters who I don't really use too much anymore, I'm all for it. Because if I'm putting the gear on them, I'm going to be using them, whether it's for this event, whether it's in the future when they do get reworked, because they will. That's not, it's not a thing about, oh, we'll put all this gear on these characters and then they'll sit here for till the end of time. No, that's not how it's going to go. You know, I mean, look at the Ravagers, for instance. That right there is a perfect example. The Ravagers were one of the worst teams in the game, and now, after their rework, they're one of the best teams in the game. Or not, well, for war purposes, they're one of the top teams. Are they the top? No, but they can beat a lot of teams that, 3 months ago they could have never hoped to beat. So, honestly, I mean, we'll. This game kind of has an ebb and flow. It seems like every year for the past few years now, at the beginning of the years, there's been a lot of negativity around the game. Usually around midway through the year, you know, some things get improved, other things don't. And then again, by the end of the year, then we're back to where it's like, eh, what's improved? A little bit? Eh, you know, enough to keep us playing. That's for sure. Um, say what you will about all the problems in this game. Just being able to play with some of these characters is a joy to me. And you know, I used to play the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and honestly, like I'm not that big of a Star Wars fan, but I liked the aspect of collecting the heroes, uh, just building the teams, putting them together, and now, or I played that for I want to say like 2 to 3 years, and then this game here came out, and I started playing this game at launch and played for a little bit here, a little bit there. Kind of dropped off of it because I had a close group, that I played the Galaxy of Heroes with. But then, that game had its own problems. And, a lot of people that played that game kind of, the ones I played with anyways, they kind of dropped off of it. And, you know, when my guild in that game fell apart, I moved over to Marvel Strike Force here, and I've had nothing but pretty much nothing but fun with this game for the duration in which I've played. And like I said, I mean, at one point, I thought about quitting this game, and the alliance I was in had been in with the core group of people. I loved playing with them. Um, the problem is at the time because of they kept moving the goalposts, so to speak, and that's the way I looked at it, anyways. And to do, the newest content, you had to invest more and more, whether it was more time, more resources, um, and it got to a point where the game wasn't fun for me. I remember with the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, when that game became not fun for me on a daily basis, I, at one when I quit that game, I just there was a day where I just didn't log in, and then the next day I just said, "No, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to go back to it." So when this game here became not fun for me, I was afraid that that was going to happen with this, where there was going to be a day where I didn't log in, and then the next day, yeah, I would just say, "You know what? I'm done with that game." So, I left the alliance that I was in, um, and of course we had just formed a cluster of alliances, and I went to a lower level alliance, and honestly, I I took a step back and looked at what I liked about this game and what I didn't like, and now I can honestly say I'm back to a point where I have fun with this game now, thankfully, again. And that was something I was afraid at one point wasn't going to happen, but thankfully, it did come about, and not because I'm sitting here worried about, oh, I can't spin this gear because, next month there might be a character that needs that gear. Now I just, do what makes me happy. And, if putting some gear on Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon, if that gets me a few extra rewards that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise, that makes me happy, we play this game, to have fun. And honestly, like, it's okay to not always be preparing for what's next. It's okay to just live in the moment, and that's what I've been doing the past few months. And now, certain characters, once they're announced or whatever, like the Web Warriors, I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Um, so, like, when the Web Warriors were announced, I said, okay, I'm going to save all my bio gear. I'm going to, stock up on Brawl or ISO because that's what the majority of that team was. And that's what I did for like a month and a half. And when the Web Warriors came out, I didn't have to buy any gear or feel the need to buy any gear because I had been saving. And, you know, when they announce a tech raid team, that's when I'll start saving gear. That's when I'll start grinding for the gear. But I'm not going to sit on a bunch of gear and say, well, one day we'll get this team. Because, that day could be soon. It could be far away. It's honestly hard to say. But, I spent the gear. I don't regret it, not in the least bit. If they come out tomorrow and say, hey, next patch, tech raid team, get ready. I'll say, okay, time to start. I'll change what my daily farms are. I'll make sure that I have enough tech gear and SBCs and catalysts and everything else to where I'm ready for it. Or I'll be as close to ready as I can. But, I mean, I'm not going to let what might be coming down the pipe affect what I know is here now. So, I mean, as I've been talking, I've been playing through this Knowhere Heist, and like this last node here has taken me longer than any of the other nodes. And honestly, like, I keep watching the health of my characters, waiting to see if somebody's going to die. Thankfully, nobody has, but, Star-Lord and Rocket, they're only at level 80. I didn't take them to 85. Now, Kitty and Doc Ock, I did take it to 85. But even, Sue Storm, she's only at level 80. I didn't take her to 85 because I don't use her every day. I took her to 80 when that was the requirement for Gear Tier 15 and put her through Dark Dimension. And that's where she's at. But now, I'll just throw that on auto here. But like, what I'm trying to say is, instead of being so negative all the time on, what the game asks from you, what the game wants, just play the game in a way that makes you happy. So, like, I'll go here and I'll open this, Elite 7. And I'm sure it's going to be absolute crap. But we're going to do it anyways. You know why? Could I save this for, the next legendary character? Sure, I could. I'm not going to. Let's just see what we get. Okay, I pulled a 7 red on Swarm. I had him at 5. Do I use Swarm? No. He sits on my ward defense. But am I going to be mad about pulling that? No, I'm not mad. Like, it is what it is. Honestly, he could have been a lot worse than what he is. So, we'll promote him here and we'll see what, I had him at, almost 89,000. Now he's 103,000. So, like, he goes up roughly 2,500 in damage. Okay, he gets another 30k in health. Cool, great. But I don't know. With regards to the Knowhere Heist, like, that was a fun time for me. Like, just running through it, using characters that I haven't used in forever, like Star-Lord and Rocket. I enjoyed that. Like, with the Relic Hunt, like, hand. Who uses hand? Nobody. But you have to take them to that certain level just to get these rewards. And honestly, these rewards ain't great. None of the rewards are for these flash events. I mean, you look at Chaos Theory, and 7 gold promos a month typically is what you get from that. Now this month, they say they're running it every Friday for this month, for Black History Month. Okay, great. So at the end of this month, I will have an extra 28 gold promo credits. That's not that much. Like they could give out 28 every month, and it would still take you like half a year to be able to get a 6, close to a 7 red star character of your choice. As it stands right now, the 7 a month, you got to go pretty much all year before you can get a 6 red star character. So, you know, play the game how you want to play it. Don't get bogged down in looking at the rewards and saying, oh, well, that's not worth it. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you play this game free to play, like so many people do, everything is a grind. And you just have to make that grind as fun as you possibly can. So, until next week's episode, thanks for watching Web Quips, and peace out.